I'm going to invite the chime to sing, friends, and then we're going to set the intention for our practice. Welcome, everyone. This is Recovery Dharma. My name is Julia. I'm one of the facilitators in the Spokane Sangha. And today I'd like to set an intention for our practice with a sentiment of metta. Metta is loving kindness. This one reads, "May you celebrate small steps." May you celebrate small steps. For the month of July in the Spokane Sangha, we have been exploring the 4 of the 8 aspects to the Noble Eightfold Path. We've been focusing our exploration on what it means to cultivate wise effort, what it means to engage a wise livelihood, what it means to have wise mindfulness, and what it means to engage with wise concentration. Today, we're going to explore concentration, wise concentration. And we're going to do so bringing Marty's spirit here with us, honoring his incredible imagination, his wonderful storytelling, his ability to be very poetic in his guided meditations, and most importantly, his impeccable example of bringing us always back to the breath as an anchor. So we'll begin as he began so often by taking 3 deep breaths. And I encourage you to turn an inward gaze and just notice how your body wants to take 3 deep breaths. Maybe your deep breaths aren't that deep. Maybe that's not available to you today. Invite that to be perfect. Invite that to be your practice. If, on the other hand, you're able to slowly inhale, watching your belly expand, and then slowly exhale, watching your belly contract 3 times, that's your practice today. And then maybe yours is somewhere in between. Take a moment, take 3 deep breaths. Notice where you are in this moment as you breathe. Friends, yesterday after our meeting, I was sharing with a new Sangha member about passive activity. And that may sound like an oxymoron. You know, how can you be passive and active at the same time? And I was describing how when I'm anxious or my mind feels scattered or I'm struggling to concentrate, I engage in activities in activities that are repetitive, mindless, focused, and I have a million of them. So just to give you an example, picking raspberries is a passive activity. I'm doing something, but it doesn't require a whole lot of action, a whole lot of effort. I don't really have to think about it. I'm just sort of mindlessly picking raspberries. This morning I spent about an hour or so working with a huge gathering of bachelor buttons because I harvest seeds that I'm going to sow in various meadows and gardens around the farm. And I'm not talking about just a few plants. I'm talking about a wheelbarrow full of bachelor buttons. And I spent all this time, one by one, just snipping off the seed heads. Actively doing this, but in a really passive way. And my concentration was very lighthearted. A thought would come, and I would follow it for a little while, and then I would bring my attention back to the bachelor button flowers. Some were in various stages of flowering, some were in full flower, some where the petals were dying back and serving as food for the seeds, maturing and gestating. Some were dried, where the seeds were almost ready to be released into the wind. Various stages of reproduction in this plant that I could be attentive to. And then my mind would wander off to something else. My dog would catch my gaze, and I would follow that thought for a while, and then I'd bring my attention back and concentrate on this plant. Later on in the afternoon, I brought myself to my sewing machine, and I was sewing pieces of felt onto cardstock, because I make handmade cards. And then I was also sewing doll clothes, mindless activities where the mind and the thoughts just come and go. It's a very easy, gentle way to keep my body concentrated, fixed in an activity for a period of time, while my body's nice and solid, while my mind is coming and going, attentive to the task and then mindlessly wandering, attentive to the task and then mindlessly wandering. Giving myself opportunities for passive activities calms my nervous system, but more importantly, it creates space for insights to arise, for worries to settle, for the heart to open. For our practice today, as we breathe in silence, I invite you to enjoy this passive activity of simply breathing. And please know that your attention to the breath will likely wander away, and that's absolutely okay. Allow the thoughts, allow the mind to just go, have a wander. And then when you become aware that you've wandered off, maybe you're thinking about something that happened earlier today or something you might need to do later tomorrow or whatever it is. When you become aware, take a deep breath, smile, congratulate this small step in awareness, and then see if you can concentrate your attention just on the breath, breathing in and breathing out. You might be able to do it for 3 cycles or 10 cycles of in-breath and out-breath. It doesn't matter. Wander away in the mind. Let the thoughts come, even if they're racing, even if they're critical. Allow your breath to bring some gentility to the mind, because in this moment, all we're doing is breathing. There's no need to be judgmental. There's no need to be critical. There's no need to be shaming. None of that. Everything like that can just be put to rest. Breathe. Just breathe. Breathing in. Breathing out. Enjoy this wise concentration practice, anchoring in the breath. Friends, one of the things that I appreciate so deeply about a Buddhist practice is this. The Buddha reminds us that while we may experience anger, we are not anger itself. While we may experience a craving, we are not the craving itself. While we may behave in unskillful ways, we are not just our behaviors. We are something so much more than all of those things that arise in our lives due to a series of conditions. And the Buddhist practice is all about cultivating a spirit of curiosity to explore those conditions. So we understand why the anger is arising. We understand why a craving is suddenly upon the mind. We understand better why there was this unskillful impulsivity or reactivity. And by understanding, we can shift that. We can change. And by cultivating patience, we can trust time and unfold and unfurl as the unlearning and learning goes. But we do not have any access to that if we don't know how to settle the body, bring ease to the mind, open the heart, and learn to simply breathe with the smallest bit of attention and concentration. That act alone can propel us toward lifelong transformation, which brings healing and care to not only ourselves, but to the world, particularly our families and friends, our co-workers and communities, and so on. And all we have to do is look around and realize just how many people aren't breathing with any real attention. They're not taking the time, they're not prioritizing the time to take a listen, take a look at our own minds and bodies, and bring the gentle nurturance of breath as an act of care and compassion. This is an extraordinary thing to do. And I'm so glad you were able to do it here today with us. Thank you, friends. Namaste. Alrighty, friends, let's go ahead and end our practice with a dedication of merit. There are times where I hear myself say things like, look around, look at all the people who are not breathing and are asleep to the preciousness of their lives. And it can sound, even to my own mind, a little patronizing, and that really isn't my intention. So I'm working on how to convey this message, because the trouble is whenever the ego's in the driver's seat and we're looking around and we're seeing how others are behaving so unskillfully, and yet here I am being so skillful, la-di-da. The ego is so quick to be like, yeah, look at me, I'm so spiritual, I'm so cool. And it's such a folly, it's such a falsehood. And so I was thinking about this on the way in today, and I was thinking about that the motivation for engaging in spiritual practice is not to become cool and above all of the mess of human beingness. We engage in spiritual practice because each of us, I'm certain of it, has had a call to care. That's why we practice. We care very deeply about our own well-being and by extension, others, the well-being of our family members and our friends, our kids, and our pets. They change our lives. They remind us of the impermanence of everything and the preciousness too. And so that's what we're doing with this dedication, is we're taking all of this goodness and we're taking it in nice and deep so that when we go out into the rest of our evening, we're different, we're changed. And may this change be of benefit to others, to your loved ones, to your coworkers whom you'll gather around in the morning, maybe to your therapists or your physicians, your nurse practitioners, anybody you encounter. And may this goodness be of benefit even in your thoughts. And may it translate in your rest. And may you dream well and be at ease. Thank you for your beautiful practice, friends. We'll see you next time. Namaste.